Welcome into the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard Day the Cruz, who is not here today, and Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Good afternoon.
It is Monday, November 13th, 2023. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse. We post videos. Patreon.com/the Gaming Discourse. You can support us for $2.47 and $10. Get your name in the video credits, early access to our videos, access to our Discord server, and more. We'll have an update on current projects this week for those of you that follow us on Patreon. If you're interested in weekly updates, go check us out on Patreon, because we give weekly updates of the projects I'm working on right now. I'm working on something that's going to take a little bit longer. I'm also working on a Talos Principle 2 review, which I'll talk about Talos Principle 2 here in a little bit. And yeah, we've got a bunch of news to get into. Some Google Epic stuff's going down. Some news about Modern Warfare 3 and Sony live service games. Connor,
yes,
you've been playing some games.
Yes,
we're gonna talk about the ending of Starfield. I'm permitting a spoiler for me because, as we'll talk about in a minute, there's just too many games that I want to play, and I don't know when I'm gonna eventually get around to playing Starfield. So Connor will say before we.
Yeah, we'll put a spoiler tag in the comments, and then there'll be
sure
a spot where I tell you when the spoilers end.
There you go.
But before we get to that, I've been playing. I've played since I last was here. 12 Minutes, which is a indie game.
Willem Dafoe's in that, correct?
Yes, Willem Dafoe, James McAvoy, and Daisy Ridley are in it.
Wow, that's a cast.
It is.
I didn't know Daisy Ridley or James McAvoy was in it.
You can very much tell Willem Dafoe is in it.
Well, yeah, because he
doesn't try to change his voice at all. It's just
and he
Willem
just
Dafoe.
keeps talking about Spider-Man the whole time.
And a lighthouse for some reason.
Why'd you spill the beans, Jim? Yeah, sorry.
Daisy Ridley, you can tell every now and then. James McAvoy sounds like his name just escaped me. Sam Witter. Days Gone.
Oh, yeah.
He sounds exactly like him throughout the entire game.
And he also played Star Killer.
Yeah.
And he played Darth Maul, right?
Yeah, in the Clone Wars.
Sam Whitmer, maybe?
Yeah,
something like
maybe.
That.
I feel bad now.
Everybody knows who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Great actor.
Great actor. The entire game sounds exactly like him. And I was like, are we sure it's not him? I know it said James McAvoy at the start, but are we certain?
Okay, interesting.
But 12 Minutes... It's hard. It's a hard game to describe. It takes place in a Groundhog Day-esque 12-minute loop. At the end of 12 minutes, something will happen, and you restart. Except that's not what the game is about. The entire game is part of a hypnotic, like your character's under hypnosis outside of this 12-minute loop, having a conversation with his father.
Interesting. Okay.
And all the big narrative like parts of the game don't actually not all of them. A lot of the big narrative parts don't matter because they're all a construction of an event that may happen. But a lot of the events are just rationalizations from this character under hypnosis.
Oh, okay.
Willem Dafoe in the, I guess, minor spoilers. Willem Dafoe in the hypnosis plays a hitman, or someone who is coming to get revenge.
Okay.
But he's not. That's actually your character's dad. And your character's wife, played by Daisy Ridley, turns out to be your sister. But your character knew that.
Are they supposed to be married in the 12-minute loop or something?
Yes, and they are outside of it too.
But they're also sister and brother?
Yes.
Does the game explain that at all?
Kind of. So the way it explains it is both of your dad, Willem Dafoe's character, had an affair, had a child out of wedlock, and that's you.
Okay.
And then it doesn't elaborate on it too much, but you have a sister, you met her, you got married, and now she's pregnant.
This doesn't make any sense. So okay, the idea of a 12-minute loop is already an interesting concept to play with.
But
adding on this
the
incestuous thriller seems like you're overdoing it a bit.
No. The thriller part is only happening inside the hypnosis.
Okay.
The character that is coming to extract revenge for your sister or wife killing your both of your dad.
This is Crusader Kings, am I right?
It gets weird. If she didn't actually kill him, you killed him.
Okay.
But you forgot that somehow in this hypnosis, but he's not actually dead because you're having a conversation with him outside of the 12-minute loop hypnosis.
All right.
It really starts to break down once you play the game.
Break down good or break down bad?
Break down bad because a lot of it doesn't make sense anymore.
Okay.
Because the crux of the game is the decision. The whole game narrows down to a decision you make, having a conversation with your father about moving forward with events to come because your sister wife is pregnant and you don't know if you should tell her or not that your siblings.
Okay.
One of the options is I'll tell her and we'll work everything out.
Okay.
The other option is I guess I'll leave.
Sorry, the way you delivered that sounded like an Always Sunny line. I don't know why. It's just like Frank Reynolds. You gotta get out of here, Charlie. You're impregnated D. Sorry. Anyway, even though they're not brother and sister, doesn't matter. But you get the joke. Okay. Well, that seems.
Well, they might be.
That seems. Well, yeah, technically, but they might be. Depending. No one's ever studied Charlie's blood bucket, so the Lord hasn't really quite figured it out yet. But okay. Well, that seems like it's way more complicated and weird than I thought 12 minutes was.
When I started the game, I thought it was really like the concept was really interesting.
There's lots of loop games like that, and they're cool, fun, whatever.
And if you hide the entire 12 minutes, the hitman / maybe fake cop or maybe actual cop, it's not clear, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't actually exist. Kills your wife.
Okay.
And so that ends the loop, and then you go again. And so these decisions the decision you made are based off of a lot of nothing, because all of these like big emotional points of the game, you finding out that your wife has been lying to you, living a lie that she thought she killed her dad when she actually didn't. You forgetting that you kill your dad when you actually didn't, because that's just a whole fabrication for a justification of events to come, and her possibly dying if you don't do anything, all don't matter because they're all constructions of a hypnotic or hypnotized mind.
Okay. All right, whatever. Well,
yeah, they went too far with the premise. They really could have eliminated a lot of it.
I'm not sure if the 12-minute... I'd have to play it myself. I don't know if the 12-minute loop is supposed to be metaphor for something. I don't know. Huh. Okay. Well,
yeah.
I'm sorry you had that experience. Don't waste Willem Dafoe, Daisy Ridley, and James McAvoy, people. That should be the lesson that we learn here. You can't waste good actors.
And I think Willem Dafoe just likes voice acting because he was also in Beyond Two Souls, and that also wasn't.
That was also very bad.
Yeah. He just, I mean, he might just like working. So, I mean,
he's an actor.
Yeah.
I'm sure he loves getting work.
Yeah.
And he's a phenomenal actor. So, okay. Well,
and we're going to have to put in because we're going to talk about Starfield now. So, okay, Starfield spoilers until
going from
now until 23 minutes.
Then there was Connor from the future. Okay.
From the future, which hilariously enough kind of fits in. So how far in Starfield did you get?
So I'm not very far at all. And and part of the problem is the other games that I've been playing, Starfield's just taken a backseat to it all. I was enjoying it and stuff, but it's just, there's nothing grabbing me. There's nothing like, I don't know, like I was like 60 hours in. I didn't need to upgrade my ship. Every time I got into combat, it was fine. So it's like, why do I need to upgrade my ship?
Don't worry, it gets worse.
So I just didn't. There was nothing pushing me forward.
Yeah.
Landing on planets wasn't all that interesting. Exploring wasn't all that interesting. So yeah.
I know you got to do one of the temples. You got to do the first.
No, I haven't even gotten to the.
Oh,
first
you didn't do the first temple?
I know.
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't even gotten to the first temple. I know there are like your special Starfield powers, similar to like being a Dragonborn, I guess.
Yeah,
but I never, and I'm not even sure why you would need those because I shoot everybody in the face with a pistol anyway. So it's like do I need additional powers? Because I kill everybody pretty quickly already, and people I don't kill quickly, they're just bullet sponges, and I just got to pump more bullets into them. It's like, do they really help me out? I don't know. But okay.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do a quick breakdown of the rest of the story for you.
Okay.
Because it all is necessary to understand the ending. So one of the one person you can meet in what's it called? New Atlantis in the Viewport Bar. It's called the Hunter.
I have met this person a couple times. I know they're mysterious.
Yes, there's a reason they're mysterious. They're one of the Starborn. Okay. And the Starborn are multi-dimensional travelers.
Interesting.
Or multi-universal travelers. It is a multiverse. There's a decision that you have to make a little bit further into the game to either go protect the eye or keep the artifact safe.
Okay.
And one of your your companions in Constellation dies. For me, it was Barrett.
Okay.
In my playthrough, in our niece's playthrough, it was Sarah. In my playthrough, the Hunter is Barrett. Her playthrough, the Hunter is Sarah.
Oh, so it changes.
Yes.
Interesting.
It changes depending on who dies.
Okay.
They become the Hunter. Did you meet with the Universal Sanctorum priest and talk about religion with him? So there's another Starborn that will pop up called the Emissary. There's another one called the Traitor, but we don't know who she is. She's just a traitor. The Emissary. Those are the two primary ones. That priest, his multidimensional traveler form is the Emissary. So they're collecting the artifacts to go to Unity in this universe. And Unity is just the connection point between all universes.
Okay.
So, depending on how you want to play it, you can fight one of them, you can fight both of them, or you can try and talk them down and convince them to give you all the artifact pieces and go to Unity. And when you go to Unity, it's New Game Plus.
Really?
You pop up in a new universe above Vectera in a Starborn ship, and you start the game over.
No way.
Yes.
That's how it ends?
Yes. Now, there's a bit more to it, but a lot of it is based on decisions you make in the game. If you romance someone...
so it's No Man's Sky.
Essentially.
Because that's how...
It's No Man's Sky, but less.
Okay.
But a little bit more because there's,
What happens if you go to Unity? What happens to all your relationships and stuff?
Good question. So if you romance someone, when you're about to... when you arrive in Unity, you are there. You from another universe.
Awkward. Okay.
Yeah, and you have a conversation. It's actually a little interesting because your voiceless character is now voiced.
Yeah, that is kind of a cool concept. Yeah.
And I dig that. That concept is I really appreciate it. It adds a little bit depth to your character. And you start
very Star Trekian.
Yeah, and you start having a conversation with yourself about Unity, and then you get a decision to make. You can either join Unity, or you can turn around and head back to your universe. If you head back to your universe, nothing happens. It's not New Game Plus. You just continue on playing the game as you were. But if you go to Unity, you get the opportunity to see the culmination of what happened. I, in my game, romanced Andreja, and it doesn't directly say, but it implies that when you join Unity, there's like an energy release throughout the universe, and because of your love was so strong that people started loving each other more.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. And I chose the peaceful option, so because I didn't fight the hunter and the emissary, or one or the other, humanity was left to discover Unity on its own and not be unimpeded by the hunter or the emissary. And then the people that decided to stay behind and not join Unity from Constellation continue looking for other artifacts and stuff in the universe, and they get their own happy ending. And then, yeah, you can join Unity and get New Game Plus or return to your universe.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
but
I'm fine with having it spoiled.
there is one thing that I want to talk to you about, and that is the fate of Earth, because you find this out through the main story. Do you want to know the fate of Earth?
In Unity?
No, in just in Starfield.
Well, I've landed there.
Yeah,
it's like a
no, not necessarily the fate as in what it is. It's like how that happened.
Go ahead.
Grav drives.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Grav drives.
They tested a grav drive on Earth, and it started siphoning away the atmosphere.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's kind of sad. Oh man. All right. Well, what happened to the Grand Canyon? I tried to land there, and a grav drive take that too. Okay.
No, but what's funny is there are snow globes that you can find.
Yeah.
And then they populate locations.
Huh?
If you find a snow globe, then you can go to that location on Earth.
Wait, back up.
So if you
I
find...
have been to one of these because there are like points of interest on Earth.
Yeah.
I have found a snow globe.
Yeah.
The snow globe is just sitting in my inventory now.
Yeah.
So what can I do with this snow globe?
Which one do you have?
London, I think.
You can go to London.
When you say go to London, what do you mean?
You can land at London, and there's some like stuff there.
Like at what point in time?
Whenever you want, after you find it.
No. At what point in time is this London? Like contemporary?
No, it's current London. So you know.
So there's just some like
ruins,
tents set up and
stuff.
stuff.
Well, not tents. No one lives there.
Okay. I'm just confused as to like, because when I found it, it was just one giant building.
Yeah.
Which was really cool and creepy, but I couldn't go inside it.
Okay, so
anything.
the snow globes give you those points of interest easier. If you find the snow globe, you can go to that location.
Okay, well.
But yeah,
I wasn't super interested.
The Earth was fucked because grav drives.
Okay, well, yeah, Starfield deals with a lot of interesting ideas, and just none of it sort of pans out well.
Did you do anything with Samco?
Yeah, Samco's been, in the past few hours, he's been my main companion. So I've learned about his family and stuff, and followed like partially his quest line with his dad and his daughter, and learned about him and found his family maps and stuff like that. Yeah. Why?
All right. So, Samco has an ex-wife. All right.
Yes.
And this is where the ending gets a little weird and underdeveloped. If you have Samco on your crew when you go to Unity, Cora's with you, right?
Okay.
When you go through Unity...
Oh, no.
When you go through Unity, it's not certain where you pop out.
Okay.
So if you take Samco and Cora with you, you're putting them somewhere into a random universe.
Sure.
Not together.
Okay.
Also, Samco has an ex-wife who is still alive, and he's fine with just taking Cora to another universe without talking to her about it.
Yeah, that's weird.
Now, if you romance Samco, it is specified that Cora stays behind and eventually joins and goes to Unity.
Okay.
But if you're not romancing him, it just happens.
Weird.
Yeah. there's a lot that's not really thought out. Like she seems excited to join Unity, and she's gonna put on a brave face if she gets separated. But it's not if she gets separated; it does happen.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm done talking about Starfield. Whatever. None of this makes sense. Starfield just frustrates me. And like one of the things is like if you're making a story about the true nature of the universe and stuff like that, I don't know. I don't know how you balance that with having.
No, I want to talk about New Game Plus real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. When you enter New Game Plus, you have a special ship, a special suit, and you you start after you would have left Vectera. So you have the mission just to go to New Atlantis and go to Constellation. If you land on Vectera, they act like there's no difference between how it's happened originally and now, and that's understandable. When you land at New Atlantis, get into Constellation, they start questioning you about how you were able to get in, and Vasco recognizes that you were the miner that they lost when trying to get the artifact back, which implies that the you from this universe you're now in is dead, or at least lost. So time must have passed.
I'm confused. I thought you met yourself.
You do. Multiverses, Tyler, multiverses.
Oh, okay. Whatever. I'm not going to ask any more questions.
Anyway, continuing on. You have the option of either skipping the main story and just going out and collecting the artifacts, meeting with the emissary and the bounty or the hunter, fighting them or siding with them or negotiating with them, or you could do the main quest again. If you do the main quest again, there are points like when you part of the tutorial where you have to go to Mars and then you have to go to Venus. But when you go to Mars and talk to the bartender, you can just say, we know that you don't really know where he is. Where is he going?
Because you know the answers to everything because your character already experienced that.
Yes.
But you still have to go through all the quests.
But you still have to jump through all the hoops.
Yeah, okay. That's weird.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks.
But if you just skip everything.
Is it? Okay, I'm not going to ask questions. Okay.
No, go ahead, ask questions.
No, I'm not even going to. Continue.
But if you decide to skip it, you just get you give them the data they need to find the artifacts, and you just go collecting the artifacts.
Okay. Well, whatever. Starfield didn't get good reviews, so spoiler alert, it's not a good game. It's an okay game at best.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I'm not going to get to Starfield probably for a while because there's a bunch of stuff that I've been playing. I wanted to review the Talos Principle 2. Talos Principle 2 I'm really excited for, and so far it has been excellent. I think just as good, if not better, than the first one. So quick backdrop here. In the first Talos Principle game, you play as a piece of software, essentially, inside of a simulation. And the simulation is set up because humanity has died. So they started a computer program, hoping that computer program would eventually produce a form of sentience. That sentience would inhabit an android body. That way, all of humanity's knowledge and wisdom and all that would go into this one robot. That way humanity would live on even after biological humans had died away. That was the point, right?
Okay.
So the canon ending of Talos Principle is you do all the puzzles and stuff. You learn everything there is to learn about humanity. Not really, but then you're conscious, this conscious sentient being that exists as software gets put into an android body. That android body walks out of the digital world, literally exits the digital world, walks out into the physical one, where humans are gone, and that's how the first Talos Principle ends. Following that up would be kind of weird because it's like, that's such a definitive, ambiguous ending that it's like to put to funnel it into a sequel would be kind of weird because it's like that ending is ambiguous for a reason. Ambiguous endings are ambiguous for a reason. So to sort of form a highway between two games, all of a sudden now you're sort of taking that ambiguous ending and narrowing it in a sense. But they do it really well in Talos Principle 2. Basically, in Talos Principle 2, the first android that got out made other androids. These androids built a city, They all remember different parts of humanity. They call themselves human. They're completely sentient and self-aware. They understand that humanity died. That's really interesting. They consider themselves human.
Yeah.
Even though there's nothing biological that's human about them, but they all consider themselves human, which I think is neat. Basically what happens is the character that you play as is significant for a specific reason. I won't spoil too much, but you get a signal. The city has 1,000 androids in it. It's been alive for hundreds of years. They've basically just been chilling, experimenting, studying stuff. They really there hasn't been too many I guess they don't need to eat or anything.
Yeah.
So there's just been living in, I guess, some form of paradise. But they get a signal from far away. So they're like, we're going to go on an expedition. So they take you with. You go to this other island where there are more puzzles. There's a giant building. And they're like, and as far as they know, they are the only sentient beings on this planet. So, and they know that this building did not exist with humanity. They're able to date it and stuff. So it's like, well, what's going on here? So it's this really interesting, you're trying to figure out, that there were androids that had left and you never saw them again, and you get evidence they were here, but you're not really sure why this island with all these new structures on it is built or what its purpose is or anything like that. Of course, being Talos Principle, there's all kinds of philosophy and religious discussion. But it's just the puzzles are phenomenal. The writing's really good. This time around, you have other companions with you, so it's not such a solitary game. And they all have different personalities, and they're all written really well. And it's literally like a team of scientists and engineers and explorers that you're with who are going out exploring this new weird place and trying to figure out what its purpose is. So it is super intriguing. Extremely fun. The puzzles so far are really good. There's some new mechanics. In the first Talos Principle, one of the mechanics is you'd have a lock that you had to shoot a laser at.
Mm-hmm.
And to get this laser, you'd have to draw it from the wall with a crystal set on a tripod. And then you would draw it to the crystal, and then you would shoot it at the lock, and it would unlock. So it'd have to match colors. So if there's a blue lock and a blue emitter, you'd have to grab a crystal, connect it to the blue emitter, connect it to the blue lock. The blue laser would go through and hit it, and it would unlock. In this one, though, there's a new mechanic where, let's say there's a red lock and a blue emitter. Well, the red lock won't take blue; it takes red. So there's a new tool. I forget what it's called, but it's on a tripod too, and it changes the colors of lasers. So you take the blue, and then it switches it to red. So then you can unlock the red. So that gets all kinds of crazy because you've got different emitters of different colors and you're swapping different. And so it gets a lot of fun. But I'm really enjoying it. And I won't say much more because I still need to play it more. I finished Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 is one of the best horror games of all time. Between it and Baldur's Gate 3, for me, just flip a coin when it comes to Game of the Year because it's just... both were phenomenal. Alan Wake 2 took some lofty artistic risks. The ending of Alan Wake 2 gave me chills. It kept me engaged from beginning to end. It was not a perfect game, but it was a phenomenal game. And I'm really hoping, I'm really excited to see what Remedy does next, which is a lot to say because Alan Wake 2 took a ton of work. But I think it's one of the best horror games of all time, and it's definitely one of my favorite horror games of all time. Right up there with Silent Hill 2, Amnesia: The Dark Descent, Fear are some of my favorites. And Alan Wake 2 is up there as well. The Metro games, I think, can get really creepy. I think I would count them as horror, at least some parts.
Well, yeah, but those are the parts with the spiders.
With the spiders, which are terrifying. But yeah, there's not a whole lot I can say about Alan Wake 2 without spoiling stuff, but just the two different characters. Alan Wake is a really interesting character. Saga Anderson is the FBI agent. Saga's character is really cool because Saga keeps her cool the whole time. She sort of, as soon as paranormal stuff starts to happen, she sort of just accepts it which they live in a world where that stuff exists. So maybe there's a reason for that. But Saga just has this really clear-headed, clear-headed detective mind where she's able to deduce things and keep her cool. And that makes her a really interesting character that I think is pretty unique. And Alan Wake is just his continuing like journey through the dark world or whatever it's called at the bottom of Cauldron Lake is really good. And yeah, there are some scenes in Alan Wake 2 where they took huge artistic risks, and I think everything paid off. There was not a moment in Alan Wake 2 where I was like, this is the worst part of the game or anything like that. Everything was really good. I did have some bugs, but those were minor. So yeah. Okay, let's hit the ad. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. Sony has delayed some of its live service games. This was first spotted by Video Games Chronicle. Remember, Sony recently said they had 12 live service games in the making, including The Last of Us 8, the Last of Us multiplayer title. During an earnings call, Sony president, COO, and CFO Hiroki Totoki, I believe, said, quote, "We are trying as much as possible to ensure these games are enjoyed and liked by gamers for a long time. Of the 12 titles, 6 will be released by fiscal year 2025. That's our current plan. As for the remaining 6 titles, we are still working on that. That's the total number of live service and multiplayer titles. And mid to long term, we want to push this kind of service, and that's the unchanged policy of the company. It's not like we stick to certain titles, but game quality should be the most important thing," end quote. Okay. We've talked about this in the past with Sony's big live service push here. My thought process, I think, is how do they see the current market for this kind of stuff? Because it seems to be in some ways deflating. The news coming out of Bungie hasn't been great with the layoffs and Bungie, or Destiny, I guess, underperforming, and they had to delay Marathon, I think. I don't know how all of that, how the stuff outside of Sony's ecosystem will affect Sony's decisions, especially with these games that are being postponed. But Sony's strength is their first-party IPs, you know, and that's the thing they do really well. And I don't want to speculate because you have a lot of studios working on these things. So when you have that internal like studio work, I don't really know what kind of effect it'll have. But if this push towards live service bullshit all of a sudden begins to impact their ability to make first-party IPs, which is why Sony is in the dominant position it's in right now when it comes to major console sales, then do you pull back? What do you do? Do you even need to do this? Why is it important for you to push down the live service, to push into the live service market? It's money.
Because the CEO 5 years ago saw how successful they were and decided we needed to do that 12 times.
Yeah. And but I also don't understand, like, cannibalization is a real thing. You know, if you're Sony, all these games cannot be a success.
No.
Like, there's no, even in a perfect world, each of these games releases, they're bug-free, they're perfect, but is there enough people on the planet that are going to play, that are going to be solely invested in one live service game? And is there enough of those people that they're going to fill out these 12 games to satisfy Sony's financial desires with this? I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
So some of these games are just destined to fail, not because the studios are bad, but because the mathematics are bad and the economics are bad. And that's upsetting, especially for a company that has done such a good job pushing single player first party IPs the past like 10 years. And a lot of this stuff is what we've said before, But I think it's worth repeating because, in 5 years, things change. What is true now will not always be true. At one point, the PlayStation 3 was a joke and the Xbox 360 was on everybody's TV stand, right?
Yeah.
Now, that changed. All of a sudden, the Xbox One was a joke and the PS4 was on everybody's TV stand. Right now, the PS5 is kicking the Xbox One, the Series S and the Series X's ass, right?
Yeah.
And part of that is because for the past 10 years or so, Sony has developed really good live service games. Or not live service, really good first-party IPs, right? God of War, The Last of Us, Horizon, Ghost, Spider-Man. There's a bunch right there. So if you cut into that, then you're undercutting what is the best aspect of your business. And to make up for it, you're doing something that you're not sure you're good at. And it's something that I think there isn't really a market for, which are 12 more of these. I've talked a lot. Is there anything you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to tap into something you said about when the games fail, because some of them will, because it's inevitable, because, again, this market is shrinking. It's not because the companies or the developers are bad. It's because the mathematics doesn't work. And you and I both know that that's not how CEOs are going to see it.
Yeah.
So Sony, I don't think they've realized they're setting up some of the developers to fail with these, because developers are going to take the brunt of it failed. And
no, yeah, you're right.
And they'll possibly get less funding for other games, other projects going forward, because they aren't able to develop the games that are successful. XYZ game didn't this live service game that they put out didn't do well, not because there's not a market for it, but it just didn't do well.
Yeah,
and that's how the CEO and the executives are going to see it.
You are correct, because the thought process is not. Right now we're going through it. This year has been bad for games. All the layoffs and shit, and there's a million reasons for those. Most of those reasons are bad, but in 5 years, or in 8 years, let's say, longer timetable, if all of a sudden we're going through another 2-3 years where there's tons of layoffs and Sony's just laying off teams left and right, you can look back at this moment in time saying Sony, I think 12
was far too many.
Saying Sony set a lot of the studios up to fail.
Yeah.
Because they put them on this trajectory where they're doing live service stuff, which is fickle, which sets goals that aren't always realistic, or sets goals that, because shareholders don't know what the fuck they're doing, or executives don't know what the fuck they're doing, they expect all these games to sell like Fortnite because that's what they watch the little asshole kids play, and they think, oh, well, since little Timmy plays it, then I guess we can make 12 more of these, and all the other little Timmys out there want to play this too.
My nephew, spends $1,500 a month on Fortnite. So all 12-year-olds must have
all
$1,500 a month that they can blow off.
Snot-nosed kids? No. I don't know why I'm dunking on kids all of a sudden. Fuck kids.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. No.
You heard it here first.
All the children.
Gaming Discourse, anti-children.
That's right. Get rid of all the children. If you're under 20 years old, I don't want to see you. No, I'm kidding. But you're setting your studios up to fail. That was my main takeaway here. And that sucks, because I don't think that's necessarily a thing you need to do. It's just a thing that's good if you're for shareholders and for company value and bullshit like that. But I don't know.
Real quick, we talked about this maybe 2 months ago. I'm trying to remember like exactly what it was, but there was an article we were discussing about the groups of people that they were expecting. Like there was a number, 200,000 players. You remember this?
Oh, say that there was no.
It was something from Sony or a company talking about live service games, and they were saying that their plan is for having like blocks of like 200,000.
Was that players. Strauss Zelnick?
It may have been.
It may have been Take-Two, because that's one of those things where Strauss Zelnick, who I don't think he's an awful man, but he is somewhat annoying. No, I think it was something he said about even if all that it's unsustainable to reach like all these markets or whatever.
Yeah.
It may have been something he said, and we don't have to look up the quote because it was a couple months ago. But it was a moment of clarity where like a high up executive was saying, realistically, all these markets, we're not going to be able to tap into all these markets because the maths don't work out, the economics don't work out. But publishers continue to do this bullshit anyway. And maybe that's part of the plan. Maybe the plan is to throw out a wide net and say, hey, if we have to lay off 1,000 people in 2 years or 1,000 people over the course of 3 years in 2 years, who gives a shit? We're going to get a couple winners, and that's what we're... And the people that buy fucking skins for Shooter Man 5 over there, they'll keep doing that.
No,
and Jumping Man
Infinite.
2 and Swimming Man 3, we're just going to lay off all those people and cancel those games. But the money we make from Shooter Man 5, that'll recoup that investment, and we'll have a stupid IP that is worthless that people buy skins for. Maybe that's the thought process. I don't know.
But to continue where I was going, yeah, that number that they need X value or X number of players for it to be a successful, you're not going to get that with 12 games. And maybe it is the idea is they're just going to cast a wide net, see what they can get. But that contrasts with the end of this quote, but game quality should be the most important thing. If quality is the most important thing,
then you shouldn't do 12.
You shouldn't be doing 12.
And some of these are mobile titles, I think, which are diametrically opposed to their quality.
And do we? I don't think we ever got a full like knowledge of what the 12 titles were or what they were going to be.
I think we got a good idea of a chunk of them. I don't know if they have announced every single one. I do think there are like there's a couple mobile titles. That could be wrong.
The question after why are we doing 12 is what are these 12 games? Is there enough demand for a Last of Us live service multiplayer game?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and in that case, I would say yes because the first one was really successful. But can you it's like that thing where that Z Frank where it's like imagine a color you've never seen before, now do that 5 more times, right? It's like, okay, so you have one good idea for a live service game, now you have to make up 11 more. And hell out of here.
And here's the thing, like, so there was keyword there being was, because when did Last of Us come out?
The first one?
Yes.
2012?
Okay.
11?
So,
but it was
a decade ago.
It was very popular.
A decade ago, The Last of Us multiplayer was popular.
Yeah, and the other continue.
A decade later, how popular will it be? There's going to be diminishing returns on it.
The one thing I should say is it was popular, but I think it had somewhat of a niche audience.
Well, yeah.
And I don't know if that niche audience is good enough for Sony's live service ambitions.
It's not going to be.
And 2, the other thing you have to consider is Last of Us is much more of a cultural touchstone at this point because of the TV show. So if you launch a Last of Us multiplayer game, I think it's up in the air whether or not you could reach that kind of... whether or not the game succeeds is one thing.
It doesn't matter it doesn't matter if The Last of Us is a cultural touchstone right now because of the TV show and because of the game.
Touchstone is probably the wrong word.
Yeah.
But.
Because even if you capitalize on a fifth of the people that watched the game or watched the show that had never touched the game before, and you get them to buy the game, or if it's just like a free live service game that you paid other shit for, you're going to have less than half of them stay with the game.
Yeah.
You're going to lose a large chunk of that audience because the fucking normies aren't necessarily looking for a live service multiplayer game.
Yes. And you got to remember that the audience they're looking for is primarily whales.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily number of people playing. It's the highest paying people, and do you have enough of those people to sustain a certain
It's a balance
bar?
between the two. Because if you're too dependent on the whales, then you might as well just be, well, not might as well. You're going to end up making very hyper niche games to suit them. And once the whales start moving to other games because other games are coming out, then everything you've put in starts to become a loss.
And we may be thinking too far in the future for executives.
Possibly.
So if it happens after dinner, executives don't want to think about it. It's got to be before the next time they eat. That's when their decisions, that's all the money they pour into before the next time they eat. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 was rushed. This is according to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, speaking with more than a dozen Sledgehammer employees. Modern Warfare 3 started out as an expansion to Modern Warfare 2, but was eventually spun off and made into its own game and was developed over 16 months. To become its own game, Modern Warfare 3 had to essentially be rebooted. Employees told Bloomberg this made them feel betrayed as crunch was needed to finish the game, and the studio's last game, Call of Duty Vanguard, was pushed on a similar timetable. Aaron Hanlon, studio head at Sledgehammer, responded in a Twitter statement saying, quote, "We're incredibly proud of Modern Warfare 3, both the full game experience at launch and the upcoming year of content we have planned. This has been a labor of love to lead the first ever back-to-back sequel in Call of Duty. We have worked hard to deliver on this version, which has been years in the making. Anything said to the contrary is simply not true. This is our game, and we cannot wait to play it online with all of you," end quote. I have not played Modern Warfare 3. I did not play Modern Warfare 2. I played the reboot of Modern Warfare. It was nowhere near as good. This is strange to me because I figured Modern Warfare was like a well-oiled machine. So it's like, how do you why do this?
That's a bold assumption coming from Activision Blizzard.
Well, yes, that's true. And video games in general.
Yeah.
I just don't. And Modern Warfare is in this weird situation where it's like, they have Warzone, and they have they're like more standard. You buy a box with a game in it and you play that game, and they're kind of doing both. But I think one is clearly more important to them, which is Warzone.
Yeah.
But it's like they're afraid to give up the single player portion and stuff like that. And I think they kind of want to. And the last time they did that, there was a big outcry and people didn't like it. So they went back and decided, okay, we'll do single player. But I don't know. After stuff like this and after Vanguard, and it just seems like at some point, I wonder if Call of Duty is just going to bite the bullet and say, you know what, never mind. We're just going to go full on Fortnite here. Because that seems to be the logical place to land, I guess. Especially once you're having all this trouble. And I don't know, the Modern Warfare reboot just wasn't very good. It was bad, actually. So I didn't play 2, so, you know, I can't sit here and cast aspersions on the second one or the third one. But if Activision is putting so many resources into Modern Warfare 3 and it's just not panning out, at what point do you just bite the bullet of internet anger and just cancel everything and say, you know what, we're just going to go full on Warzone or whatever? I don't know. You have a lot of studios, whatever. I think it's a similar case with like Madden. Like, you know, Madden, if Madden was a different game, it would have already gone free to play. But because it has such a casual audience and that casual audience is always going to pay the $70 that Madden retails for, you're not going to make it free to play because you know that you're going to make just as much money off microtransactions when you have that $70 barrier to entry. So taking it down and making it free to play is not as lucrative as it is with other live service games. And I feel like Call of Duty should be there too. And so I don't know. And that's too bad because Call of Duty was like, people forget, but Call of Duty was innovative a long time ago.
Yeah.
The first Call of Duty was so freaking cool, and Modern Warfare 2 changed video games. The first one, really, Modern Warfare changed video games. And then Modern Warfare 2, a bunch of kids that were 15 years old were like, "This looks cool," and then from there, everything picked up. But it's just sad to see the state at its end because it was once like really innovative and interesting and neat, and now it's just this like not even
Activision got
popcorn.
complacent.
It's just, it's not complacent. It's just greed and microtrend. This is what games, this is it. Like, this is the goal of so many publishers, is to have something like this. Meaningless, like no definition, action combat meaninglessness. That's just there to sell skins. And it's the same thing with Halo, right? Halo didn't know what to do, so now it's Halo Infinite, you sell skins, and it's just this meaningless blob. It's almost to the point where it's not even art anymore. It's just advertisements as you're on your way down to the subway on a staircase. That's like all it is. And that's sad, because that's not what it needs to be. And that's not what it was in the past. And hopefully that's not the future of a lot of other games. But that was just a rant about the state of...
Well, if Sony has its way, it's the future of The Last of Us. And possibly other beloved titles from them.
No. Okay. Is there anything you want to say about Modern Warfare 3? When was the last Call of Duty you played?
Modern Warfare 2, the first one.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been a while. All right.
It's been a while. Okay, so I didn't play the game itself, but I did play the zombies in Black Ops.
Okay.
In Black Ops 2, I think.
And some of them were pretty fun.
Yeah. I forget which one it was, but it's the one where you can play as JFK.
Need more beans for the chowder here. Yeah, that one. Yeah, you play as JFK, and I think Fidel. I think you play as Fidel Castro fighting off zombies, which is just perfect. And then you have some like Secretary of State. I think was it supposed to be Robert McNamara? Was he Kennedy's?
I don't remember.
Was he the Secretary of Defense? Like during Vietnam, the early days of Vietnam, I don't remember what his job was. He did a bad job if he was at the beginning of Vietnam. But yeah, that was funny. And then there was a fourth guy, but I don't know who it was. Yes, but that was peak. I'll say this: that was peak Call of Duty. JFK fighting off zombies, saying "Need more beans for the chowder here" when he's out of ammo. That wasn't just peak game. That wasn't just peak Call of Duty. That was peak gaming. That was the Citizen Kane of video games. And we've never been back to it. Okay, we're going to move on. Epic turned down $147 million to put Fortnite on Google. So some background here. Epic sued Google right around the same time it sued Apple. The cases are similar, but not exactly one-to-one. Epic doesn't want to pay the 30% fee each company takes from its app store. So if you say you put Fortnite on the Google Play Store, little Timmy downloads it, right? David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers, his little asshole nephew downloads it, takes his credit card, buys a bunch of fucking John Wick and Duck skins for Fortnite. It costs $100.
Yeah.
Costs $100. Google takes 30%. So Google takes $30, and then Epic would get $70. Epic doesn't want that because all the little Timmies in the world, they want to get all the money from all the little Timmies and all the money. So they don't want to take that. They don't want to lose that 30% hit. That was a long-winded way for me to just dunk on kids all of a sudden. It's not just kids playing these games, by the way. There's plenty of older
streamers
and it's
too.
Fine if you do that. It's fine. It's okay if you buy skins from Fortnite. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay, no, there's nothing wrong with it. A difference in this case. You can sideload apps on Android devices, but this is complicated and includes multiple security warnings. Thus, most people, the idea being that you're likely to just turn back to the Google Play Store because sideloading is complicated and weird, not easy to do. But that's one way you can get around that Android allows. Apple doesn't allow sideloading on iPhones, but Android allows that, or the operating system, I guess, allows that. So you can get around the 30%, but it's sort of impractical. Sean Hollister at The Verge reported on some interesting tidbits as the trial has started, including an internal document from Google that listed the most principled arguments it could make to convince Epic to put Fortnite on the App Store, including, quote, "The install friction is not only a bad experience, but we know from our data that it will drastically limit their reach." I believe that is talking about sideloading. So this is Google. This is Google saying, sort of admitting, if you do it this way, sideloading sucks, and we don't have the power to fix that. So you're gonna have to give us 30%.
Yeah.
Basically shaking down Epic. Another one is also Google offered, and this is the title, Epic $147 million to launch Fortnite on the Play Store. That investment would be paid out incrementally over 3 years. In a document justifying the deal, Google said Fortnite's absence could result in $130 million up to 250 direct revenue loss with Play, and a downstream impact of $550 million up to $3.6 billion potential revenue loss if broad contagion to other developers. Meaning if Fortnite were to go this route
and be as successful as Fortnite was,
and that's what Google would lose. And if Fortnite did that successfully and other people were like, Fortnite's doing it, we're going to do it. That is the threat to Google here. Yeah. Okay. So what do we think?
fuck Google.
That's yes. we can end it on that note. No. Yeah. This is
Google's that last justification was Google saying, hey, if you don't do it this way, we're going to lose money. And if you don't do it this way and are successful, we're going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. Cases like these are tricky because I don't know. I'm tired of companies. I'm tired of it. I'm out. I used to be this guy that was like, well, let's give them their due. No, fuck it. Phones should be as open as PCs, and they're not, and that's ridiculous. And that's where we need to get. So you know what? Screw Silicon Valley.
Is this the turning point for Tyler becoming an anarchist?
Screw Apple. Power to the proletariat. No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
No. Screw Apple. Screw Google and all this. These are walled gardens. They shake down other bigger corporations. This isn't about security, right?
It's never been about the kids.
It's never been about the children. It's never been about security. And I'm not going to pretend that I understand the technological side of it because I don't. But if we have the technology that you can put a game on a Windows PC and you don't have to worry about Microsoft taking a cut of that, then why can't we do that with phones? Why is it regulated differently? Whatever. And I don't give a shit what Apple is owed for selling an iPhone. I don't give a shit what Google is owed in their process with phones that involve them, because Samsung, so it's like more complicated on that side. I don't know. But the point is, these companies are not in these positions because they innovated. They created things and then they locked people in, right? And they force you to play by their rules. And you know what? They shouldn't be able to. This stuff is too important. This stuff is too wide ranging. The power is way too much. So I don't give a shit anymore. Now, the problem with a case like this is Epic is fighting them, which is like, God damn it. It'd be like if like the Cardassians invaded and it's like, oh no, we need to defeat these Cardassians. And the guy that stood up was Mark Zuckerberg. It's like, okay, well, if you're going to do it, then fine, but I don't like you either. You know, like, it's like, so that's the thing is, yes, Google, I think, is in the wrong here, but Epic, I don't really believe. I think Sweeney partially believes in like breaking down these internet barriers and walled gardens. It's the same thing with Steam, but at the end of the day, it's another company with shareholders and blah 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 blah, and it's not going to be a philanthropic endeavor.
Yeah.
As soon as he is a barbarian at a gate, and he wants to break in that gate so he can get into the kingdom, so he can set up his own castle. Not necessarily because he wants to redistribute the wealth of the castle.
He wants to be the king.
To have a more open society and open technology. And it's not that he wants to be the king. He just wants to be the king of his own domain. Okay. Well, and eventually, yeah, be the king, I guess. But
yeah.
But that's an abstraction, because when I say they want to, I'm not necessarily talking about Tim Sweeney. I'm just talking about sort of the systemic
capitalism.
Yes. That's sort of how this goes. So Tim Sweeney may say, no, I don't want that. But I don't know, at the end of the day, I think there are powers that are bigger than Tim Sweeney and forces and systemic economic forces that are bigger than Tim Sweeney that'll eventually power them that direction, like a lot of other companies. So, yeah. Is there anything you want to say about this?
No. Oh, no.
Okay. It's a billion-dollar company fighting with another billion-dollar company. And I hope Epic wins the case. They didn't get what they wanted out of the Apple case. I don't know.
I hope both sides lose.
Yeah. I hope both sides lose. Fortnite is forced to stop selling skins, and
I hope both sides lose, and I hope Google loses more.
Yeah, that's probably... Google is the biggest fraud in the history of frauds, and you're sort of on the forefront of this, and so are a lot of people, but like, they made one good thing. They made a search engine. Everything else after that, they either bought or sucked at.
Everything Google has that has been successful outside of Google and Gmail, and like it's like little affiliates, Maps is sometimes unsuccessful. They've bought.
Yeah. What about YouTube? They bought YouTube. They used to have Google Video. Google Video was a joke.
Yeah.
And so they bought YouTube because they.
Do you remember Google Plus? Their social media.
I do remember that.
Google doesn't. They're going to sweep that under the rug as much as they can.
They threw the Stadia body right on top of the Google Plus body. Bodies are still warm down there. They just keep killing off projects and toss them in a mass grave. God damn it, Google. But yes, so Google is like the biggest fraud. They had one good search engine, which was a great idea, and now they rule the internet, and it just sucks. It's not how it should be. This internet and culture are too important for...
It all started because some white tech jabroni got invested by mommy and daddy and made something super successful when the internet was young. And if this is sounding familiar, it's because this is the story of every single major tech company.
This is true. This is true. Okay. Done talking about jabronis. We don't have Richard here, but we can play tidbits real quick. What if I told you, in this world, there are bits, and there are tids, and Richard is the only man who can put them together into tidbits.
Jabroni is such an underused word. It really needs to come back.
It's really good. I believe The Rock was like the first person to popularize it.
Hulk Hogan.
Was it Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's at least where I know it from.
And the whole idea is it's like a guy that like is lazy on the job, I think, a jabroni. But of course, another always
foolish or contemptible person.
Yeah,
a jabroni.
So, a jabroni, which a jabroni is really good.
Yeah,
and also because it's one of those words that is thrown around on Always Sunny. So when you use it, you get Charlie, this guy's a jabroni. Like you get that image. Mm-hmm. That's great. Okay. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse, and we will see you next week. Bye.